Hi everyone, welcome to another episode of Women of Family, Home, and Social Sciences. Today joining us with our series is Ellie Randall. Welcome, Ellie.
Thank you.
Okay, so Ellie has graduated from the College of Family, Home, and Social Sciences, and I would love just to hear your story, Ellie, about what you did and where you are now.
Yeah, absolutely. So I graduated in family studies in 2016 at BYU, and since graduation, I've had 2 kids. I got my master's degree in family and human development, and then I currently work as an adjunct faculty member at a community college in the Midwest.
That's awesome. Could you tell me a little bit more about how you kind of got to being an adjunct faculty? Like, did you think that you were going to do that when you were in college?
That's a great question. I did not. I ended up doing family, home, and social sciences, which was unexpected to me. That wasn't originally my major, and I still didn't know what I was going to do with it, but I felt really good about it. I felt like that was the direction I needed to go. And so then I ended up working in sort of some different social services jobs after college, foster care and Head Start, until I eventually realized that I really just wanted to teach. And so then I got my master's degree so that I could do that.
That is so awesome. And what do you love about like human development and teaching at a college?
Yeah, oh my gosh, I love being with my students. They ask me the best questions, and there's so much interesting research in this field, and so I get to just share that with my students. I honestly teach them stuff all the time that I learned at BYU, stuff that really stood out to me in my classes, so I get to share that with them and hopefully inspire them to have meaningful careers in the social sciences as well.
So you talked about how you hopefully want to inspire your students in going into the social sciences. And so I was wondering, what advice would you give to women about their life choices or going into the social sciences? Do you have any advice for that?
Yeah, absolutely. There are a lot of amazing women in this field, and a lot who take breaks to be home with their families. But it really is a field that, at least all the jobs I've had, have been very family friendly and have allowed me to do both things I love, being home with my kids and also being able to just teach. It's been so flexible. In fact, one of my mentors at BYU, when I started graduate school, I had talked to her and I said, can I do this? Can I, be a mom and be an adjunct faculty member or really do anything in the social sciences? And she said, yes, absolutely. And it's so worthwhile. And so, and of course, there are going to be times and seasons. That's the other thing I would say. Maybe sometimes you're going to continue with your career or sometimes you'll, stop and do grad school or continue on with your schooling too. There's just going to be different times and seasons for each thing. And if you're just following your own path, wherever the spirit takes you, wherever life takes you, then it's going to be a great road ahead.
Yeah, I absolutely agree. I think it's super important to find a balance between your family life and your work life or your social life. That is something that I hope to figure out as I continue from college. And so as a follow-up question to that, how do you personally find balance between like your family life and your professional life?
Yeah, it can be challenging and tiring at times. And there have had to be different adjustments all along the way. Yeah, the main thing that comes to mind for me is support from my husband, and also we have had to get additional help. But I do, I only teach part-time right now. That's one way I'm able to do both, and education has become just so much more flexible, and the other jobs I had even before, in allowing me to be a stay-at-home mom and also work. So I try to, designate time every day to my work and then also designate time to being with my kids. I hope that answered that.
Yeah, that did answer it. I think it's really great that you have found that balance in your life. But I do wonder, what are some things that you have needed to address when it comes to like balancing perceived cultural expectations with personal aspirations? Have you had to come to address those things?
Yeah, absolutely. Especially, we know in the family, home, and social sciences how important it is to be with your family and everything. And there is an expectation of me being a stay-at-home mom, even not just in LDS culture, but just in my culture in general. And so I have had to address that. One of the things I am huge on is I do not just let that expectation be there, right? I told my husband that we'll sometimes, focus on his career and mine, but we have explicit conversations. Like we verbally talk about, okay, I will take care of the kids while you do this, and vice versa. And it's never just an expectation that I will take care of the kids, or be at home taking care of the house. We never let that expectation be in our household. We're very clear on that that's both of our role and we need to balance it together. And maybe it's not your spouse, maybe you have family helping you out, whatever it is. I try to be very clear on, I have my job too, and it's very important to me. And we talk through it, and it does shift over time, depending on what's going on with my career or schooling or whatever.
Yeah, that is really, really great. It sounds like you have delegated like expectations between you and your husband very well. And would you say that it's kind of like an ongoing conversation of setting expectations? You check in with each other every once in a while, or I don't know, however much you do, and just talk about, okay, this is what I need to do, or this is what you need to do, that sort of thing.
Yeah, absolutely. We do that. And I totally encourage other people to do the same. Like I said, there's just this expectation on women to do all of it. And that's totally unrealistic. It's just completely unrealistic if you want to have balance in your life. And so, yeah, we continuously go over this together to make sure that we are striking a good balance in our home.
Yeah, that's great. I really love the partnership that it sounds like you have with your husband and your family. So thank you for sharing that. I also was wondering if you could talk more about your experience at BYU and how your education in the family, home, and social sciences and at BYU prepared you for what you're doing today.
Yeah, there's honestly so many things. Like I already told you, I share a lot of the stuff that I learned at school with my current students. But beyond that, I also, I've taken a lot of it into my own life, things I learned about child development and things like that. That's of course really great, and marriage courses. But I also learned a lot of really strong writing skills, which I use all the time, just every day at work. And I did have one really interesting experience. With my capstone research project, I had approached Dr. Willoughby about just doing some research with him, and ended up helping on the research for a book he was writing at the time, which was a really great opportunity to learn more about statistics and writing, which has been really useful. But at that time, he actually asked if I would also be one of his TAs, and that was something I hadn't really considered. And of course, I didn't even know at that time I was going to do academics or teach. And so I did that with him for a year, and I learned so much, and I just had no idea how valuable that experience was going to be for me. So it's just been pivotal. I learned so much about grading and helping students, and it turns out that that was really helpful, a really good experience that I really needed.
Yeah, I think being able to work in that capacity with a professor or research can be really, really helpful for students. And I'm sure you would encourage students to seek out those opportunities. So I think it just really helps students get more hands-on experience, and can also help them realize, is this something that I really love to do, or am I looking for something else? So that's really great that you had that opportunity at BYU. I was just going to ask, do you have any advice for students to kind of help find those opportunities for them at BYU? I know it might have been a while since you've been at BYU, but maybe just talk a little bit more about how you got those experiences.
Yeah. In my case, I just picked a professor who I really had enjoyed their class and thought maybe they were doing some interesting research. And I just approached him personally about anything he might have going on. And I know that at BYU, there's so much research going on. Even if that professor doesn't have anything for you at that time, they will definitely point you in the direction of somebody else that does. and as well as experiences, right? If you're looking to be a TA, that's an opportunity. I never really found those things on the job boards or anything. I think word of mouth is the best way. You can honestly just approach the professors. They're very approachable, and they understand that you need and want these experiences and are willing to help you.
Yeah, I would agree with that. I think something that I've learned throughout my college experience is, all you have to do is ask, and most people are willing to help you. And, the worst thing that you could get is no. And in that case, you don't really lose anything, but you could have everything to gain if you just ask someone for help, whether that's a professor for any opportunities that they could help you have or whatever it may be. So it's really great that you found that while you were here at BYU.
Oh, yeah.
So
yep, I totally agree. Just ask. The teachers are there to help you.
Yeah, that's super important. Okay, great. Would you mind if we kind of started talking about the workforce a little bit? I know sometimes it can be daunting to figure out expectations for you and your employer. And so would you mind just talking a little bit about that?
Yeah, absolutely. I think this is super important to know going in, especially as a woman, to know that there is inequality and that you can do something about it. I've had kind of both ends of the spectrum. On one opportunity that I took with a job, I had an expectation for what they would pay me, for example, and but when they called me with the job offer, I totally froze up. I didn't feel comfortable asking for what I actually thought I deserved. And I never said anything or did anything about it. And I really wish that I had, because I truly felt that my work was worth more than what they had offered me. Even though I had a good experience there and learned a lot, I think I should have, in that case, been more assertive and more clear, and stood up for myself, because if you don't advocate for yourself, no one else is going to. But I took that lesson, and in my current position, one thing that the education system does here that I think is a good thing is they just have basically a pay scale of whatever your experience and education are, that's what you get paid. It's basically just a chart, which I think is a good way toward creating better inequality. However, I did not agree with the way that they had, measured my personal qualifications, and so I have appealed that, and it did work out for me to earn more and to get what I truly deserve. And so I think it's just super important to, you can still, of course, be kind and approach your employer respectfully, while still getting out of your job experience what you deserve.
Yeah, absolutely. I think that is super important, especially in a world where, sometimes expectations aren't met. I just wanted to ask you, how were you able, I guess this might be a weird question, but how were you able to gain the confidence to, kind of stick up for yourself and appeal your case? I think that can be a hindrance for people, at least I know for me, I'd be nervous to go up to my employer and be like, hey, actually, I don't really agree with what you're offering me. Can we talk about it? So if you could just talk about that experience, that would be great.
Yeah, I never would have thought to do that. I never would have felt comfortable. We had a conference at BYU with other women in academia, and they talked about how we should have the confidence to do that. And I was like, okay, I'm gonna do it. And I did start out with emailing them, which I thought was a slightly more comfortable way for both of us. It could give them time to kind of think about it without being approached very suddenly face to face. So I did kind of explain to them what I was thinking and send some documents through email. But then I decided it was better to have some face-to-face communication. And so I did go in, and I was surprised at how receptive and kind they were to the whole thing. And even if the answer is no, right, it's still okay. If you're both going in respectfully into the situation. So it does take some guts, but and definitely, like I said, email could be a good starting point. It might make you feel a little bit more comfortable. You don't necessarily need to say something the minute they call you with a job offer, but it is important to take that step as early as you can, because that starting pay is the best, your best chance at getting the salary that you want, and then it can just go from there.
Yeah, I think it kind of just comes back to just asking. I think most people aren't out to get you. They're not trying to be mean if you ask questions. And so I think it just um, comes to overcoming that barrier of asking. As well as I really liked how you talked about making sure that expectation is set earlier on rather than later on, because then both parties can start off, whatever the circumstance may be, knowing what both parties are expecting rather than, kind of throwing a surprise at them further down the road. So I think those are really great tips. So thank you for sharing that. Just one last question. Is there anything else that you would want to say to our students of FHSS, or any other advice that would be helpful for them either here while they're studying at BYU or for the future?
Yeah, looking back, I think I was pretty hesitant to go into family, home, and social sciences because I didn't see a clear path ahead, and that made me nervous. As a student who was just very academic focused, I just thought, okay, I need to do sciences or math or something so that there's a clear path before me. But I have been just really surprised at all the many opportunities that have come my way and how meaningful my career has been so far and continuing my schooling. And so if this is something that you do feel passionate about and you feel that this is, the Spirit's telling you this is what you should do that. And there will be opportunities ahead, even if you're unsure what they are.
Yeah, I can completely relate to that. I think for me, back when I was in high school and going into college, I was nervous, thinking like, well, the world just wants people who are in STEM. And I don't know what I am going to do because I don't really like the STEM field. That's not my passion. And even like while I've been in college, I'm studying history. And a lot of people ask me, oh, so like, what are you going to do with history? There's no one really knows. No one really recognizes the clear path that nobody really understands also what you could do with the social sciences. But something that I've come to realize being in the social sciences is that it can open so many doors to you. You can use the skills that you've learned in your degree to go in a lot of different directions. For history, yes, it's a lot of knowing facts, but again, it's also a lot of research and analyzing that research and being able to communicate it effectively through writing. And I can use those skills with, a lot of different things. And so I would agree with you that I don't think students should be afraid to go after what they're passionate for, and just know that there's so many different paths that you can take. And the world needs STEM people, and the world also needs people from the social sciences. So I'm really glad that you brought that up, because I think that's super important.
Yeah, absolutely. It's so true. There's a world of possibilities out there.
Yeah, absolutely. Well, thank you so much for meeting with me today. Your answers were great. I know that they will be so helpful for the students that will listen to this interview and read it. And so again, thank you. And I hope you have a good rest of your day.
Thanks. You too, Abby. Great to meet you.
Yeah. Bye-bye.
Bye.